wise sayings of Solomon. So, chapter 11, chapter 12, so on and so forth, for a good bit of the next few chapters, next few days are going to just be Solomon's teachings. We're going through Solomon. Golly, I'm looking ahead. We got a good bit of Solomon, and then to chapter 25. Chapter 25 says further wise sayings of Solomon's. So there you go. So the rest of Proverbs till we get to around chapter 30, and then of course 31 are just these great wise sayings that we're kind of used to from Proverbs. Chapter 11, it's kind of hard to find a theme in Proverbs. Thus, starting with chapter 10, the theme is wise sayings of Solomon. But you do start to see certain concepts pop up. We talked yesterday about how wisdom and folly calls. I'm sorry, 2 years ago about wisdom and folly. We talked about yesterday about watching what we say. Today we see, as I read, I just saw several notions in here about generosity. It says here, it was I thought about marking these, but I ought to take my highlighter out and highlight these whenever I see these. Verse 24, some give freely, yet grow all the richer. Others withhold what is due and only suffer want. A generous person will be enriched, and one who gives water will get water. The people curse those who hold back grain, but a blessing is on the head of those who sells it. Verse 28. Those who that was 24 through 26. 28. Those who trust in the riches will wither, but the righteous will flourish like leaves. Verse 1 of chapter 11 says, a false balance is an abomination to the Lord, but an accurate weight is his delight. That's when you would sell grain, you would weigh out the grain and weigh out the payments. So you had these, one of the common criticisms of the prophets and the minor prophets is false weights, where you're basically stealing. We see in this notion throughout this chapter is generosity is such a good thing. How we give is so important. The Bible talks a lot about that. You see it. I think one of the reasons why I love the book of James so much in the New Testament is that James finds itself deeply rooted in teachings like Proverbs. Someone told me one time that James is almost like a New Testament Proverbs. And so much of James is kind of like Proverbs and how we use our resources, how we give, how we earn, how we care. There is a beautiful expression of faithfulness and of life and of faith that comes from giving. Everything in our survival mechanisms, everything in the lizard part of our brain, if you will, some people call it, would say, don't give. Don't give. Hoard. Keep to yourself. Don't be generous. Only give to those who earn it. Don't give. But generosity is one of those gifts that just keeps giving. When you're generous, both in your actions and frankly, when you're generous in your spirit, I don't want to say that comes back to you because we don't believe in that as Christians. We don't believe in, I like to talk about how as Christians, we don't believe in karma because karma says we believe in grace, not karma. Karma says you get what you deserve. Grace says you do not get what you deserve. And we don't get what we deserve. We have all sinned and fallen short of the glory of God is what the Bible teaches us. So what we deserve is judgment, but what we get is grace. So I'm going to always lean more to grace than judgment because I know it's judgment that I deserve. It's grace that I receive. So just by giving doesn't make sure you're going to get. Tithing doesn't mean that you're going to always get financially everything you want. I'm not a name it and claim it guy. But what I do think is when we give, our our possessions and our stuff lose their hold on us. So we're happier and we're more at peace. When we give, I think our earthly possessions lose that grip on us. When we hold on to it, when we're not generous, when we're stingy, when we refuse to let go, when we keep it with one hand clasped, I think the more we hold on to our wealth, the more we hold on to our stuff, the more that stuff gets its claws in us, and the less we're able to give. So I don't think giving necessarily boomerangs back to us, but I think giving causes the stuff to lose its hold on us. I've heard it put like this: tithing to the church, giving is a forced blessing. It's like that old prayer from St. Francis: it's in the giving that we receive. I think one of the reasons why we are generous in all things of spirit and of possessions is the ultimate goal of our salvation is to make us like God, right? I mean, we believe that our salvation, the purpose of our sanctification, our salvation, is to restore what sin has corrupted and taken. That's the very purpose of all this, is to make us into a new creation. Salvation, leading into sanctification, restores us. It makes us new. It recovers the image of God. It makes us more like how God intended us to be. That's what salvation leads to ultimately, which ultimately leads to unity with God in all eternity in heaven. So, our character is supposed to be bent towards the character of God. That's what salvation does, is bends our character to God's character. What's part of God's character? John 3:16 says, "For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son." God gives us grace. God gives us blessings. God gives us gifts. Jesus says, if you who are sinful know how to give good gifts to your children, how much more does your perfect Heavenly Father know how to give you good gifts? God, in his core, gives to us as a parent gives to their child. So when we're generous, when we give our gifts, material, and talents, when we give of our time, when we give, that giving bends our character to God's character. That giving is a restorative practice. And I truly believe that when we give, the earthly possessions lose their hold. In hoarding, they dig their claws in. In giving, they are released. So everything in you right now, everything in you may tell you to hoard. Everything in you may tell you to be stingy. Everything in you may tell you not to give. Every alarm is beeping. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Every bit of sense you may have says, don't give. Don't be generous. But this book of good living that we read, Proverbs, this book of wisdom, this book that has so much to teach us, over and over and over and over again, it speaks to generosity. It speaks to generosity. There's something about being generous. So today and throughout the rest of this year, I challenge you to be generous. Challenge you to give in abundance. Challenge you to give of your talents, of your time, of your gifts, of yourself, to give. And I guarantee you that when you give, when you're generous, you're going to find a lot of life there. So let's be people of generosity. With everything that we have, let's be generous. And I think we'll find great blessings there when we do. Thanks for being with us today. We're going to pick up tomorrow. Tomorrow we'll do some additional reading. You know, we on Fridays we go ahead and look ahead to the weekend. So tomorrow we'll look at 12, 13, and 14. So a lot of good stuff to look at the next couple of days. So thanks for being with us.